Ahoy there, me hearties! How are we going? This is Stuart Lloyd with another Lloyd of Gamebooks vlog. Yes, this is part 9 of my How to Write a Gamebook series, where I'm going to be giving you comments about gamebooks that I have written. And the gamebook I'm commenting on in this vlog is Sharkbait's Revenge. Okay, Sharkbait's Revenge is my 2010 entry to the Windhammer competition. If you haven't read it yet, then it'd be best if you read it before listening to my comments. You can get it from the arborel.com website, which hosts the Windhammer competition, or you can get it from my blog if you click on the link that says download my gamebooks for free. So, Sharkbait's Revenge, what was I thinking when I wrote it, and did I think it went well? So, to set the scene, Sharkbait's Revenge, I wrote it after writing City of the Dead and Triad of Skulls, which had minimalist description. City of the Dead focused too much on the rules rather than on the story, and I've been told that by a few people who'd written about them online. So I practiced writing lots of short fighting fantasy game books, about 25 paragraphs each. You can download those for free as well. And then I decided when the Windhammer competition came along that I would make sure I'd take everything I'd learnt and work with what feedback I've been given and do the best I could. So that's what I did with Sharkbait's Revenge. So I had 2 stats, health and fate points. That's all I needed, so I didn't bother anymore. I wrote more descriptions, I used up all the space I could. I based it on a story that I listened to in LibriVox. Well, it's a true story. It was the excerpts about Blackbeard from the Pirates Who's Who. There is a Pirates Who's Who, you can find it on Project Gutenberg for free in various formats, and the Blackbeard one you can find on LibriVox as an audiobook, very short audiobook. So I heard about this Blackbeard character. He's a very nasty pirate. He did things like have competitions to see how long you could stay in a room full of burning sulphur. He did things like blow out the candles at dinner and shoot people under the table, and various other things. He also liked putting matches in his beard, which I alluded to in the book when I had him putting pink candles in the beard to celebrate stuff. So I thought about what I could do with this Blackbeard. Another one of his stories was that he deliberately tried to sink a couple of his ships and make off with the money. So that's the story I went from. I hope I'm not spoiling anything. It's pretty obvious that he's just out to sink most of his crew so he can make off with all the money. So you're a navigator on one of his ships and it's sinking, and so he's got 3 ships and 2 of them are sinking on a reef. He told you to go in that direction and there wouldn't be a reef, but he's obviously lied to you, because his ship has managed to get away from the reef scot-free, which is pretty good. And just for good measure, you're being pursued by some soldiers. So Blackbeard didn't want to leave anything to chance. If you ain't going to die drowning while you're sinking on a reef, then you get kidnapped or captured by the soldiers and put into prison. Good work, Blackbeard. You've got to admire the ambition there. So that's how it starts. You're on a ship that's sinking, and so you've got to swim to shore to a tropical island, and your first aim is to get off the tropical island, and then your next aim is to find Blackbeard, get your revenge on him. So that's the storyline. Now, did I think it went well? Well, in terms of story, I think it did. I think with the characters, I could have given them more spotlight, especially Blackbeard. He's the villain, and he's not in most of it, to be honest. He's in the introduction, and he's right at the end. But he's most of what happens to you in the book is not Blackbeard actively trying to kill you. I mean, you're on the island because of him, but apart from that, you've just got to deal with other things around you. So the characters didn't get much of a spotlight. I tried to make sure they had some interesting lines and descriptions. I didn't want to make them all 2-dimensional, but there weren't that many sort of extremely 3-dimensional characters. The story, well, the flavour of the setting, I think I went with pirates because it's easy to make pirates entertaining. I also threw in a ninja. That's one of the twists at the end, because everyone knows that pirates and ninjas like to fight. So I try to make it easy myself in terms of entertainment. So what about the mechanics? As I said, I had 2 stats: health, which was out of 100, which measured how healthy you were. If you got 0 you die, and fate points, which you start off with 1 fate point, and you can only gain 1 other fate point in the book, although you definitely will gain it, and that helps you swing things in your favour. So for example, you can spend a fate point to reduce the amount of damage you receive in combat, or you can spend a fate point to bluff your way past some guards, for example, or various other things. At one point you can spend a fate point if you're breaking into a warehouse, so that the guards don't actually come and investigate, and if you don't spend the fate point, then they will. I think making health points out of 100 was a bit much. I did this for the reason that being injured in combat would cause a lot more damage than being hungry and thirsty. I always thought it was a bit strange in Fighting Fantasy how you lose 2 stamina points for not eating a meal, and you also lose 2 stamina points being hit by a sword. I thought it was a bit weird, so I said that out of 100 health points, you lose 2 or 3 health points through hunger and thirst at a time, and you can lose anything between 30 to 90 fate points in combat. When I wrote the book, I found that was just completely redundant, because most of the health point adjustments were quite large, at least 5, and they're all divisible by 5 anyway, apart from a couple of things where you lose 2 or 3. So what I could have done was have where you divide everything by 5, rounding up. You have 20 health points, you lose 1 health point through hunger, you lose 8 health points through combat, etc. Fate points I think work pretty well. I think I'm going to keep them in. The linearity of the book, I don't think the book's particularly linear. I had to rely on a hub reference at one point where you say you have the option to go into 4 places and you return to the central place in each place at each point, but I tried to make it as non-linear as possible. Something I didn't do very much was have bad choices, so every choice was pretty positive that you made. That's something I did because I only had 100 paragraphs to work with. I tried to introduce more choice into the book by having shopping. That always introduces lots of choice. I had a few hidden paragraphs. I had a couple of occasions where you can decide, do one or the other, or take one item or take the other, and so I wanted to make sure that you had a decision in each book, there was no wasted space. So there we go. In conclusion, I think I learned from my mistakes. I'm very glad that it won the Windhammer competition. I'd like to thank everyone who voted for it and said wonderful things about it. Hopefully, I think this is my best game book to date so far, and hopefully I think I've taken on what I learned from my terrible game books to start with, and hopefully I'll move on to make better game books. Thanks for listening and watching. See you soon.